Alrighty, so here is a little sketchbook tour, and this is basically going over a lot of the traditional stuff I had when I first started drawing, and starting off strong with a good middle finger there. But yeah, just really want to archive all the stuff I had in my sketchbooks from when I first started getting serious about getting good at drawing. And at the beginning, you're going to see a bunch of just classroom drawings, like you see that lined notebook paper, and a bunch of anime drawings, honestly. Because whenever I first started, I was really committed to an anime career. So you can imagine just a senior in high school, and he's faced with the decision to choose his career that he's going to do for the rest of his life. And I was just like, I really like anime, so I'll just do that as a career. And so I pretty much committed to it and just started doing all the things you do when you're a kid and you just try to get in the anime industry. You just learn how to draw and you learn Japanese. And that's pretty much what I did between a part-time job, or excuse me, a full-time job. I believe it was like 50 hours a week at my dad's engineering company. It wasn't his engineering company, but it was with him. And so I had that full-time job and was also taking just a couple college level courses just to get some credits. This was all at the tail end of high school. And so you can see here I ascended from the anime drawings onto Drawbox exercises. Now, if you don't know drawbox.com, it's a website online that you can learn to draw for free. And it teaches you perspective, it teaches you form. I highly, highly recommend it for any beginner that's just starting their drawing journey, or just anybody that wants to brush up on the fundamentals. So, highly recommend it. So, you can see here there's a lot of like just boxes and stuff. Like, I think after I learned perspective, I just really fell in love with perspective. It was just like, dude, this is amazing. I didn't know that perspective alone can really translate to me pointing out chimpanzees there. But me like just drawing a box alone can really define a three-dimensional form on a 2D plane, right? And that's really awesome. A bunch of like Twitch references, dude. You can tell this is like a teenager just watching Twitch, right, with soda popping and pog champs and stuff like that. Kind of cringe when looking back at it, but one hell of a product of its time. And so you're gonna see a bunch of drawbox examples in these sketchbooks. We're ending the first sketchbook here, and then moving on to the next sketchbook where this is much more beefier and it has a lot of drawbox exercises. So this was when drawbox wasn't very refined, I guess you can say. It was still in development, you could say, and that's primarily because I forgot who is the primary guy making it, but he was still refining the course and making it really good. I bet it's amazing now, but even back then it was still really helpful just to learn how to draw. So you're going to see a bunch of just primitive forms, a bunch of boxes, a bunch of cylinders, some cones and stuff, a bunch of leaves. I really like leaves. Like, just figuring that stuff out was a ton of fun. And so you're actually going to see a couple concrete stuff here. Now, I do apologize for the uncleanliness of these pages. They're drawn with a Sharpie on some pretty light paper, and of course that just leads to the ink bleeding through the pages. Back then I didn't really care. I just thought like, a page is a page, and the focus here is just learning how to draw. So we got some insects and some really cool texture studies, which I was sad I didn't get to. But yeah, so although the pages bleeded with my ink through, I was just like, whatever, dude. We're here to learn how to draw, not freaking make it presentable. And that was kind of like the ironic thing, right? Like back then, I didn't think anybody would see these drawings, but now I'm a bit older, or a lot older, and now I want to archive this stuff. So you never know what your old drawings will end up. So, just keep them. And as you can see here, just me breaking down like animals and really just learning how to break them down into basic building blocks and really learning how all that works. And I think this really solidified the idea that you can draw literally anything, and that's just a matter of breaking it down. You got your boxes, you got your cylinders, you got your cross sections, and I can't recommend Drawbox enough. Like, I mean, if you're just seeing like a little bit of progress here, like you'll definitely see a ton of progress if you run through the program. So we're moving on to some more technical objects. Like, we had those everyday objects, but we also have vehicles and some boats and some nice cars. So I think these turned out really well, and I'm still proud of them even now. And then I started drawing humans because I thought, like, I was nearing the end of the Drawbox course, just because I don't think it's as long back then as it is now. But then I was like, okay, so what's the next thing? What's the next thing that's gonna lead me to that great anime career? And that's when I found Proko. Now, Proko had a figure drawing course. I believe it still costed money, but just saying now, like, a lot of the content that he releases for free, that's honestly all you need. The only reason why I bought it was I wanted that financial commitment to force me to finish the content and really learn a bunch, right? So I apologize again that these are a bit unclear, just because a lot of these are gesture drawings, and just the idea and the concept of gesture was so new to me that I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I believe Proko taught me to keep them loose and light, just so that the final drawings afterwards can be like, you can be drawn over all the gesture lines. So just kept them loose and light, and yeah. I apologize if my voice sounds like a bit like here, but I'm normally a lot louder and I guess more vibrant, but I'm still going over or getting over a cough, and hopefully the future voiceovers can be really dope. But yeah, I just really want to get this video out, just really show my origin story, like really inspire someone that, like, you just pick up a sketchbook and get drawing, get good. So we're moving on to the third one now. This is where the story kind of takes a bit of a turn, right? So that last sketchbook, I was going through the Proko course, I was going through the figure drawing course, and I believe I completed it. But then I graduated high school and I moved on to college, and I was still committed to the anime industry, but then I thought, like, oh man, whenever I was applying to schools and stuff, I couldn't find any that had the traditional hand-drawn animation anymore. A lot of them had just CG and 3D, and so I just settled with the nearest state school that I can get into that still had an animation program. I was like, dope, I guess I'll just commit to 3D and CG animation. And it wasn't too much of a commitment for me. I thought, like, I did it in high school, and I'll just do it again as a career in college and stuff. And so I pretty much squashed every like idea of getting into the anime industry or drawing as a career, and committed fully to CG. And that in turn created a huge hiatus of like 2 years of just not drawing like at all. And so My skill level of drawing definitely suffered, but I mean, this sketchbook I was forced to get because I took a intro to drawing course in college, and they were like, you gotta buy this sketchbook. You gotta make your sketchbook look presentable and appealing, right? So you got this fancy hardcover sketchbook and all that. It looks all nice and stuff. And so in this intro to drawing course, I was just like, huh, drawing is a lot of fun. I remember doing this 2 years ago whenever I was super serious about it. And then on top of that, the intro to drawing course, dude, like, I really didn't like that course. Like, the professor was great, actually. The professor was really chill, really cool. The problem was that I just didn't like the content. Like, Drawbox had taught me all the perspective and how to see perspective and how to see it in my daily life, how to observe an object and also translate it to a 2D map, right, or a 2D plane. And whenever I went into that intro to drawing course, what they really emphasized was just observational drawing, but in the traditional sense. And so what we do is just map out like our canvas into quadrants, and then just map out what you see onto your canvas, but in quadrants, if that makes sense. There's probably a method like that you can look up, and I really didn't like it. I was like, holy moly, this sucks. I was like, damn, bro, this doesn't like open my eyes to anything. Like, there's nothing new here. In the beginnings, there was like a lot of intro to drawing, like stuff that I drew, like all the shoes and all the thumbnail sketches, all the contour drawings, and a bunch of environmental stuff in this book. Ooh, there's a nice one right there. But yeah, like all the environmental stuff and all the contour stuff, that's all the intro to drawing stuff. And I really didn't like it, dude. I was just like, Drawbox taught me how to see form and how to draw perspective. And this drawing course, it doesn't really teach me that, and so there's nothing new here. And in fact, the entire contour drawing stuff, I freaking hated. And then whenever we moved on to the environmental stuff, like you can see here, that's whenever I really like shined, and because there was like perspective in it, right? And I really love perspective. And in between all these like assignment drawings were just like figure drawing. And that's pretty much where I reviewed all the stuff that I learned from Proko, and also picked up Mike Mattesi's force drawing books, which really helped me just loosen up my figures and make them less stiff and more flowy and gestural. At the same time, like figuring out like the story of the pose, you could say. And so just like because I hated my intro to drawing class, I fell back in love with just figure drawing and drawing people and drawing perspective, just the things that originally made me really excited about drawing. And so I guess I have college to thank me for drawing again. And so after getting into like a bunch of figure drawing and stuff, I was like, you know what, let's commit to more drawing. Even though I wasn't committed to it as a career, let's commit it to some more. And so here you have a bunch of skeleton drawings and a bunch of perspective studies on like the skeleton, because at this point I actually bought the Proko anatomy course, which just made me commit to learning anatomy. And so here you have a bunch of just skeletal drawings, rib cage, pelvis, spine, the head, even the skull, right? And so that wraps up this sketchbook. But at this point I was just like, you know what, I'm done with that intro to drawing course, but I'm really committed to just learning more about drawing. It's so much fun, right? And so I just needed a quick sketchbook. Just found this at Walgreens, 50 sheets. And so I just got really serious with drawing again. Like I found, or not found time, but more like carved out time out of my like busy college schedule, and just really committed to learning figure drawing again. And even though I wasn't committed to it as a career, I was still on that like CG and 3D path. I was still committed to it as like a serious hobby. Like I still wanted to do it. Like I still wanted to spend a lot of time on getting good at it in my free time. And so here you still had the continuation of that Mike Mattesi's force drawing book. I highly recommend that, just so that, you know, if you're an animator or if you have stiff poses, then you'll find it hugely helpful just to really get the story of the poses. And in between all the more gestural drawings, you had a bunch of just anatomy studies. Like at the beginning there, you saw a bunch of breast drawings, and then it moved into really detailed like abdominal muscles. And so that's the result of the Proko anatomy course. Like I believe it started out with pectoral muscles, and then it went on to abdominals. But either way, the financial commitment really made me committed to just learning all the material and going through it. Now I did kind of rush through the material, since I believe this was like COVID happened and lockdown happened. And so because of that, I was able to carve more time into learning anatomy and learning more about figure drawing. And so I guess that's to say that like I just had a lot of time, but I still felt like I wanted to rush it, oddly enough, just because, like, I mean, I don't know. I just wanted to, I thought of it as a game, and I was like, holy moly, get through the content, get through the content. Now, I wouldn't do that now, of course, but at the time, I was just like, I have all the content I could ever want, and to get through them all, I just saw it as a game. But not much else to say other than just really nice gestural and anatomy studies for this sketchbook. Moving on. And here we are on the final sketchbook. We're actually gonna see like a huge jump in just drawing ability. Like these heads alone, they definitely tell a different story from all this other sketchbooks. And I believe like even those clothing drawings are hugely different, right? But we're gonna see a huge jump in drawing skills, because I believe just learning anatomy, dude, it just helps your human drawing ability so much when you understand the body and when you observe the body so much and you learn how the body functions and moves and stretches and squashes and stuff. Like it actually helps you really just, I don't know, get really good at drawing, I guess. And so I did all these and just went through the Proko course. You can recognize some of the references if you went through that course, but I hope that these drawings also kind of tell the story that I went from draw box, where I was just drawing a bunch of boxes, and now I'm drawing like skeletons and muscles and still everyday objects sometimes, and like hands. And if anything, they're all like pretty decent drawings, I could say. Like I'm still proud of a lot of these. So I guess there's a testament to like showing that you can get really good at drawing if you just start and then you just put in a couple hours or even a couple minutes every single day. Now, this sketchbook also illustrates like kind of like a shift in mentality, I guess you can say. There is a huge jump in quality, but I believe this was around like February, not or like the end of 2020 and into 2021. And I believe in February 2021, I live in Texas, and if you know anything about February 2021 in Texas, we had a bunch of snowstorms and a bunch of the major cities had rolling blackouts, and I was affected by it. Like I remember sitting in the dark with just a candle and no internet. I believe my laptop was just running out of power, so I didn't want to like browse the internet, right? And so instead of like just doing nothing or just sitting there in the dark, I just picked up a sketchbook and just continued drawing. And I remember sitting there at that moment, I was just like, bro, like, drawing is fun, man. Drawing is nice. And so I guess I just really changed my mentality of drawing. I was just like, back then, like 2 years before, where I wasn't so serious, and then I picked it back up because of that intro to drawing course and all that. Like, I should draw some more. Like, I should draw a ton. And so I guess I planted the seeds of like thinking, like, maybe I could draw as a career. Like, maybe that anime career isn't so far out of reach. Like, my progress in drawing has really shown me that I can go somewhere with this, and I had a valuable skill that I could just use to make money. And not really used to make money, but I guess also used to really like express myself, right? And draw the things that I want to see and draw the things that I want to, like, create. And so I guess this sketchbook really emphasizes the idea that, like, that I'm reaching a new level with my drawing skill, of course, but at the same time I reached a different mentality with drawing, and like planted the idea that I could draw as a career and that I can go somewhere with this. And this is pretty much whenever I transition completely onto digital, and so that's why you see a bunch of blank pages there. But that is essentially the end of my sketchbook tour. We have a little bonus here. We have a little notebook that I would carry around, and this little guy actually helped me in that 2-year hiatus where I didn't draw so much. Like, that first page was just a bad drawing, and I was like, nice, sick. Now we can just get over that hump of just bad drawings or not making a bad drawing. And so the neat thing about this little notebook is that since it's so portable, I just carry it around like during college, and whenever I have free time, I would just sketch up boxes, cylinders, some primitive forms, maybe some objects here and there, maybe some bad drawings of people here and there, right? So this little guy was really the biggest thing to, help me keep my drawing skills and really keep them sharp to some degree. But on top of that, like, I had the sketchbooks and they were kind of like the main thing, and then this little guy were kind of like me just thinking with my head and trying to solve some problems that I wanted to think over, and I didn't have my big old sketchbook carrying around with me. And so I had this little guy, and so you're gonna see a bunch of just anatomy drawings as well. And these were like my attempt to figure out how the body parts worked, because like I'd watch the Proko assignments, or excuse me, I watched all the Proko lectures and assignments and all that, and then I would not really get them or not really understand them. And this little notebook I just carried around with me, and then whenever I had some free time or just even time during class, I would try to solve those problems and really understand how they worked by just putting in some drawings and figuring it out. You're gonna see a bunch of just miscellaneous stuff, and so a bunch of body parts and a bunch of clothes drawings, honestly. A couple like just random stuff as well. So this notebook really was just kind of like a doodle pad, just me to flesh out my ideas, but at the same time solve some problems that I just had lingering in my mind, like how would clothes fold, and how would like the body contort in this way, like what's the limits of bending this body part. Sometimes I would just do like ideation, like Venn diagrams like those. I believe that hand is one of my friends that I just drew like on the fly. So this really is like a doodle like do a doodle little journal. And this little notebook was only like $10 on Amazon. That might be a bit pricey, to be honest. Like, I can find something way cheaper, but yeah, highly recommend to just walk around with a little notebook like this and really solve the problems that are lingering in your head. Got some pseudocode right there. You know, it's really like a sketch pad or like a notepad, portable notepad. And this is also like whenever I started getting like notes on my own drawings and really critique myself a whole lot, try to figure out like or write down what is wrong with the drawing so that I can remember that note the next time I make an attempt at that drawing or drawing that same thing. This is when we went into like just studying clothes and trying to figure out how all that stuff works, and we're nearing the part of the present, honestly. So like, even though I work like at my job and all that, like I'd still whip out this little notebook and just draw like clouds or just draw like some smoke. And to be honest, it's like me trying to figure out like the next step in my drawing career and just trying to figure out how effects work and how to draw effects and stuff like that. And so it's just that continual idea of just using this notebook as a little scratch pad to figure out a problem that is lingering in my head. Like, how would you shade a smoke cloud? Or how would you shade a like cloud in general? And so you had just like a couple environmental drawings that I have fun with, and then a bunch of like honestly cool effect drawings. And so these are like as present as they get. Like, I believe I drew these like 2 weeks ago. And so this is just me figuring out how to make appealing flame drawings, appealing flames silhouettes. So some really neat stuff there, and that's the end. You can expect those last few pages to fill up, but that is the end of all the traditional stuff. Let's move on to the digital stuff. Alrighty, so now let's go over all the digital stuff, and this is a curated folder that I just tried to find as much digital stuff as I could, and I actually started drawing digitally like way like into my, I guess, drawing serious career. And I started out with a Wacom Intuos. It was only like $50, and a couple of these drawings are like on my big XP pen 15.6. Now, like, a lot of these are dated wrong, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of them that are dated like in 2018. There's a lot of them dated in 2022, 2021. But to be honest, a lot of them are just, completely random. And these are all that I can find that I drew digitally. Like, you can expect like a whole lot more. These are just the ones that I just want to share and that I could find, to be honest. So we're going to start with these 90-second folders. So basically, if we open up like the first one here, open up clip. So these 90 seconds, basically all they are just holding a pose for 90 seconds, and you draw that pose, you move on, and ideally you do about 10 a day. And so 90 times 10 is 900 seconds. And so that's only about 15 minutes a day to keep your skills sharp. And I believe I found this exercise on YouTube, recommended by a Japanese YouTuber, and I'll probably leave them in the description and all that. But these actually helped me when I didn't have a lot of time drawing. So this was in that period, like during college, where I just really didn't have a whole lot of time to draw, right? Like, I was still committed to that like 3D and CG career. And so because I didn't draw so much and I still want to keep my skills sharp, this exercise actually helped a lot in just figure drawing and keeping those skills like intact. And if we check out like the first frame here, so yeah, like you can imagine like it's the start of the day and I just want to start this session, so just do what I usually do for warm-ups, which is just draw the primitive forms, just draw some circles, ellipses, maybe some cones, and definitely some boxes, and then you move on to the actual poses here. And so you can see like a bunch of examples where I just, like whenever I did a little wraparound like these, it was to kind of like find the 2D plane and really map that out and find an appealing proportion. And so just little things like that really helped me to kind of maintain the important things of figure drawing and keep those skills intact. Oh man, I keep coughing, so let's just hope that I can edit that stuff out, but let's pick out a different one now. So some of them are like really short, like this one's only like 15. That last one wasn't a really good example, like that one had like 81 frames, right? But this one is just like a couple frames. So you could see that it's just a bunch of like figure drawings, right? But sometimes you had like some crazy like anatomy thing, and that was just me like keeping my anatomy knowledge intact and really me experimenting with drawing clothing and trying to figure out how folds work and all that. And so it definitely was like a really nice little exercise, a little like 15-minute thing that I could do every day and not really have to commit to a whole lot. Like this one only had like 6 frames, but to be honest, like that's all that's needed to keep my drawing skills sharp, right? These form drawings are actually really nice. So after I transitioned from like traditional to digital, I didn't find that transition super hard, just because like I had the Intuos initially, but then I committed to like a huge tablet, and that's pretty much what I draw on now. And just having that pen to, I guess, screen contact and really seeing or really imitating how you draw in real life, that was really nice and really made the transition smooth. So we're going to go through some of these body parts, and I was still going through Proko's anatomy course then, and so yeah, I took them digitally sometimes, and so I did a bunch of traditional studies, but the advantage of doing them digitally is I can pull in a reference like this and then draw over them. Like in this assignment, I believe it was just to find the skeletal forms and really map them out. So with these easy annotations, you can see here how I pretty much just like drew in red the like extra, like the corrected pieces and what I was supposed to be looking for. And so I don't think I want to look at the other ones just because that can get me in YouTube trouble. So let's just look at, let's look at the butt, even though that might be a bit risque. But yeah, these aren't so bad. So you can tell just a couple of these are, again, from the Proko anatomy course. I can't recommend that course enough. And just that financial commitment really made me go through the content and really learn a lot of anatomy, and I believe it has paid off immensely. Like I'll probably go through a couple of the content even now just to refresh my memory. Here's a couple of foot bones, and you can tell the draw box influence there, where it's just a box in perspective and then splitting up that box to find the correct proportions and stuff like that. It really helped a lot, so you can tell where my origin story is. It even translates to digital, so no worries there. Now here's some leg bones. And although I have a bunch of studies finding the skeletal forms, later on in the Proko course you actually map out the muscles, so it isn't just finding the skeletons underneath or even trying to identify the skeleton forms underneath. It's pretty difficult to find the skeleton forms, but later on you move on to finding like the actual muscle forms, and those are a bit easier to find on the surface. So this might not be a great example, but hey, you can learn a ton just from Proko's course. And again, I believe there's a free library and then the premium library. I just wanted to buy the premium stuff just to support Proko. I like all his content, and I do like his artwork as well. And you can get by with his free content. Like, it has all the things you need to learn anatomy, y'all, like anatomy or figure drawing or portraiture. He has his free library. It's all you need. And I just want to buy the premium stuff just to, commit to learning like the obliques and all this other stuff. So that financial commitment really forced me to just learn everything. So that is all the anatomy stuff, or all the body parts. Let's go through a couple more. Like, here's a couple more force drawings. So you saw in the traditional like sketchbooks, we had a bunch of force figure drawing stuff. This was from Mike Mattesi's book on force drawing, and the big things are just figuring out the story of the pose, really getting the important parts such as the gesture, the line of actions, and using all these lines to describe the energy of the pose and all the weight, all the weight of where it's going, right? I believe he explains it way better than I can in the book, so highly recommend the book. And if you're an animator or you got stiff poses, just pick up that book. It'll probably make your drawings way more loose, way more vibrant, way more, way more flowy, way more appealing, I should say. So those are the force drawings. And here's shading. And I believe there's an export of that, so let's just look at the PNG. And these are from Steven Zapata's Secrets of Shading lectures. And I highly recommend that series of lectures as well. He pretty much explains how light interacts with just forms and how you can use shading to really tell more of the picture, right? So you can bring out more of the picture using shading. And the techniques he goes over and what he's thinking of as he's shading a drawing, it's hugely helpful, and it's something that you can replicate for yourself. It's definitely something you can learn from the lectures. Like, these are not an assignment, but like something that I got from the lectures, where I just made a bunch of tentacle forms, and to me they look a bit like muscles since I'm an anatomy geek. So I was able to describe more of the form using shading, and I learned that from his Secrets of Shading course, and I believe it's pretty affordable, so highly recommend. Pick it up if you want to learn some shading. So we're going to leave the dailies for last, but I'm going to go over a couple of these miscellaneous stuff. So again, none of these are like dated correctly, and these are just really like a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Let's not go over the breasts because YouTube, and then we're going over some doodles. So the neat thing about digital is like you can just plug it in, and then whenever you have time, just go through a couple of drawings. And so that's pretty much what I did with these, with like the Wacom Intuos, and just really try to figure out how to draw the figure in perspective in a little box, and you may be like a super weird gesture guy, and just really try to implement anatomy and all that. And so just messing around, just having some fun with it. I believe this is a export of this guy, so let's just look at the MP4. And so the neat thing about digital is that you have access to so many tools that now I can actually get to some animation and actually get to animating stuff, with the whole goal of the anime industry. I was just like, oh man, we should actually animate stuff. And so just download some free software, some free animation software, and just got to drawing. And this was really like a great opportunity to combine my knowledge of figure drawing and anatomy and perspective, and really apply it to an animation and really add that extra layer of complexity with the animation principles. So you had this like with the perspective grid to map out the perspective and then try to carry the character through a scene. Hell yeah. We had a couple more here, so nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy, although a lot of these don't move so well and they still move pretty awkwardly. Like there's definitely not enough frames here. I wish there was like more follow through and stuff like that, but a lot of rudimentary stuff, and I guess that's the point of this, right? Just showing you guys like, yeah, this is where I came from. These are a lot of bad drawings, and it's to show the humanity. I believe this is a Street Fighter character that I drew for a friend. But yeah, like this is a bunch of like really like test animations, really showing where I came from, because like I'm definitely gonna improve with my drawings, that's for sure. I mean, I'm never gonna stop drawing and I'm gonna get better and all that, but just gonna archive all this stuff. This is a really nice hand. I believe I had to draw this for my brother. He had an assignment and he was like, bro, can you draw this? And I was like, I got you. So yeah, I just wanted to really archive all this stuff and really show that like I came from somewhere, and hopefully inspire someone else to pick up drawing and show them that they can do it too. They can do some really awesome stuff and get to really drawing what they want to draw. A lot of animation practices. So I hope you can like feel the progression, right? So at first we had Drawbox, and then we moved on to Proko's drawing courses. Huge help there. And so now we're just animating, and so you can see a huge progression of like kind of just drawing regular boxes into now just animating full figures running into the distance like this. So yeah, I hope this can inspire somebody to pick up the pencil, pick up the stylus, like don't ever give up, y'all. For this one, I wish I took it all the way and made the figure just run into the distance, into the vanishing point here, but yeah, I think this one looks smoother than the previous one just because in-betweens are super nice, super fun too. I believe these are a bit more rudimentary, but this is just showing, or like me testing out the concept of the line of action and being like, oh yeah, line of actions are hella important. No wonder it's like an animation principle, right? And so on top of that, like just drawing this helped me visualize it in my short-term memory. That way, the next time I animate, I can just visualize it in my head without having to draw it. And that's kind of like the idea, right? The idea really is to get to that level where you have so much mastery that you can do it all in your head without needing all the construction lines and all that. This run looks really awkward, but I mean, hey, I think points for consistency, volume control, right? But this run looks super awkward, so this might have been one of the earlier tests before all the perspective drawings of all this. But yeah, so that's all the miscellaneous stuff, and that's all these folders. So let's get on to the dailies, and I wanted to save this for last since these are the most recent stuff. I definitely don't draw as much as I should each day now, but this is when I had a lot of time near the end of my college career, or excuse me, college years, and I actually had a job lined up, so I now work from home, and I actually got into the 3D animation industry. I'm not going to go too much into that since, NDAs and privacy stuff is serious, And so basically I got a job in the animation industry right after college. It's really pertaining to VFX and CG and 3D, and so it has nothing to do with drawing really. But because I had a job lined up, I had a bunch of free time, and so that's whenever I actually got way serious with drawing. It was really weird. It was like I had a job lined up with a tangentially related industry, and so because of that, I guess I felt comfortable to like commit to my hobbies, commit to my like what I want to do for fun. And so that's pretty much when I got serious with drawing, and that's when I got this whole big tablet now, XP Pen 15.6. I can't stop saying that enough because it's such a great tablet. Highly recommend that as well. And so a lot of these drawings have just like a couple of studies like these one. I think let's look at a couple of these first ones. So yeah, I believe I got serious because I picked up Michael Hampton's book on figure drawing, or just human drawing in general, and it's a really great book. I highly recommend, just because it's for someone like me where it doesn't go too much into detail on like teaching you everything, and it doesn't have like assignments really. It really is just a refresher for the anatomy, for all the figure drawing concepts that you just have to keep in mind. And so for me it was perfect. And so you can see a bunch of like little examples like these ones. I believe this is cherry picked, but we're not going to go through everything just because there's so many dates here, and you can imagine that each one has like one or two drawings. But we're going to look through the cherry pick stuff. And so since I was a bit more serious, I just wanted to refresh myself on the fundamentals. And so just going through a bunch of anatomy stuff. I'm a huge anatomy geek. Love me some anatomy. And then just wanted to level up my skills by going into clothing. Like I definitely did a bit of clothing, but nothing to like a serious study like I would normally do. And so again, with Michael Hampton's book, it was a huge help to really get back into drawing and get back into developing my skills. So I wanted to learn the proportions of the face, and Michael Hampton's book was perfect for that. And then just drew it over and over and practice a bunch. And of course, we can never forget the draw box origin story. And these are just really nice warm-ups. Always got to do them, even on digital, no matter what. Never forget those warm-ups, baby. And yeah, so I believe this is also a change in mentality with drawing. So going from just a bunch of like assignment drawings like these, right? So you would just learn a concept, you just make a drawing, and then that's just to practice like a concept or like a technique that you learned. But I wanted to kind of like bring my drawing levels to the next step, or the next level. And so I wanted to apply like all the things I learned to a more finished piece and make it into something that I can put on a portfolio, or make it something that I can look back on and be super duper proud of, right? And so that's whenever I got serious in the sense that I wanted to make a portfolio. And so to do that, I needed like semi-finished pieces. And so you can't just do like these technical assignment drawings. You can't put those up on a portfolio, to be honest. And so the next step was to like draw people and really apply what I learned from drawing faces and heads to actual people. And so that's pretty much what you see here. And so going from the assignment drawings, I tried to draw Michael Jordan. And so the first attempt is here in black on the left, and then a bunch of annotations. And I've learned that just drawing annotations and notes and drawovers of your old drawings can really point out the mistakes and really keep notes in mind whenever you try to draw again, or try to draw the same subject again the next time. And so here's a second attempt, and you can see a huge difference between this one and that one. Like whenever I did practice, I would like zoom in super quick where I can't see this one. In fact, they were probably like on a different layer, and I just hide all this stuff. And so I just have to keep these notes in mind and keep the idea and really find what I want to observe with these annotations and really apply them to the next attempt. And so you can see with this next attempt, it looks a little bit more like Michael Jordan. It doesn't really look close enough to him in my opinion, but it's definitely closer. And just continuing on with that same principle, I think I was really obsessed with drawing the head and drawing faces because, well, like I had the idea like, you know what, since I'm serious with drawing, I'm probably going to be drawing a bunch of faces for the rest of my life. So gotta get really good at them. And here's Oprah. So did the same thing with Oprah, even broke down her face and proportions and all that. And I believe this is Adam Sandler. So, you know, good old Adam Sandler. So here's like the assignment drawing, and then applied drawings, applied principles, you can say. And so, yeah, taking it to that next level, or trying to take it to that next level. Yeah, I can never forget my Drawbox origins, y'all. Now, if you went through the Drawbox assignments, you recognize this kind of like layout, you could say, where you just draw a box and then you just draw it in a different angle, tilt it to the right, tilt it to the left, tilt it up to the right, tilt it way up to the right, to the way up to the left, and stuff like that. And so I can never forget my Drawbox origins, y'all. And I believe this is from Michael Hampton's book, where he talked about, like, he went over briefly the anatomy parts, or the important anatomy parts. Again, it's nothing comprehensive. I would go to Proko for that. But Michael Hampton's book was really helpful in just refreshing me on, like, the sternocleidomastoid, or the clavicle bones here, and the trapezius, and all the deltoids, and the pecs. And so this was a nice refresher and really got me back into human drawing. Moving on. And so, yeah, just a really nice drawing here. And I believe this is just like embodying, like, hey, you know, I'm probably in a different stage where I'm trying to make a bunch of portfolio pieces, but I just couldn't help myself, and this was like some really nice anatomy. I was like, yeah, let's show it off. And of course, you know, we gotta get some animations in there. If I'm trying to have some fun with my animations, gotta remember my origin story, getting into the anime industry, right? So gotta draw some anime, gotta have some fun with it. Got bah, bah, bah. A lot of fun, right? A lot of fun. And so, kind of the benefits of digital, right? You don't have a light table, or like a whole, like, I forgot what it's called, but like a photography setup where you just take screenshots of your drawings and then put it into some software and composite it into a video. Like, it's a bunch of traditional work, but digital makes it super easy. Super duper easy. So yeah, damn. Some slick animation, y'all. More good old anatomy drawings. I think going through that anatomy, that Proko anatomy course made me really love anatomy. So, dude, every chance I get, draw anatomy. Every chance I get, draw perspective. And so, I believe this was the moment I was considering, like, you know what, man? Maybe the anime industry isn't so far off again. Like, dude, every time I always think to myself, like, yeah, maybe I can get in the anime industry. Maybe there is like a chance that, you know, maybe I could work from home and then work on some anime, like, from home pretty much. And yeah, so I just thought, like, you know what, we're gonna commit. And so I needed a shorthand to draw full body stuff, and looked up online, found this really cool Japanese guy, and I believe he used to work in the anime industry. And so I just really liked the way he drew bodies, and I really liked his shorthand. It was really informative to, you know, draw the body this way in order to draw it really fast, but at the same time provide enough information, like provide the angle of the hips, provide the angle of the shoulders and stuff like that, without needing to put down so many lines. And so I just went with it and I just copied it pretty much. Probably leave a link in the description of that YouTuber. So shout out to them. And also I believe I developed this like technique where I just drop the dot somewhere and then drop the dot elsewhere and drop the dot here, and basically plotting out the pose in my mind and then just using these dots as markers of where I want them generally, and then I'd connect all the pieces with my knowledge of anatomy and perspective, kind of the way that Kim Jong-gi draws, where he pretty much keeps a lot of it in his head, and then he probably does like, keep markers around, like even like mental markers of where he wants this like knee to end up, where he wants this foot to end up. And so using the knowledge he has built up over the years and just connect all those markers stuff together. Yeah, so a lot of these practices I do nowadays, just plotting points down, really finding the proportions and mapping out all the little things like gesture and stuff with my head and with these dots, and then just connecting them all with anatomy and perspective. And this is a great example of just like going towards that anime industry vibe, right? So just find some model sheets online and just try to draw them. I believe this is taken from that slime isekai anime, and there's a main character, so just trying to draw her in this angle. So yeah, just building up my skills in the anime style. And I think what this also showed me was that, all those technical assignment drawings that I did before, those were great, those were cool and all. They were really great for learning. But at this point, I was beyond that. I was beyond all the technical stuff. And at this point, we wanted to go through finding like how to make a drawing appealing and how to make it something worth looking at, right? And so just like redrawing all these anime designs actually helped me figure out like, oh yeah, this is like an appealing shape, and if you put the eyes up too high, it just wouldn't look good. And so just little things like that where they push the appeal of whatever you're drawing, that matters a whole lot. And I believe that's like the next stage of like what I'm trying to figure out, just trying to figure out the appeal of whatever I'm drawing. Here's a couple of mech designs that I just want to explore, and that's basically saying like, dude, I love mech stuff and I love drawing mech stuff. So basically like I'm at that stage where I want to try to like find the appeal of something and really bring my drawings to a finished product, but along with that just make them more appealing and really find out like what makes this appealing, what makes that appealing, and what makes this drawing work and what makes this drawing not work. Like, does it serve a story and stuff like that? And so here are a couple of like just practice examples, but I wanted to highlight all the mech stuff. And I love me my mechs. I found out just drawing these little things that drawing mechs are actually really dope. It's a ton of fun just to draw like a headphone jack and then like this little like cylinder thing, like this little cheese ball thing, and just have it like clamped to like whatever thing. But I just really like drawing mechs, so that's that. Continuing on with that anime study, and again just figuring out like what makes this pose appealing and what makes it look like on model. I believe like I was like, you know what, since I have so much time, I was now like working at that VFX studio, and I have so much time at home, just free time now, not freaking doing school assignments at home. I can now just learn how to get into anime, and they're really stringent on sticking to model, so a lot of these are just practices of trying to stick to model and just draw the character as the character designers want it, as just to keep the characters consistent, y'all. Again, there's like the principle of like trying to find the appealing shapes. So this is too wide. Then whenever you like make it more narrow, it actually looks more like the character and it looks more appealing. So I guess you can see all these drawings and just think like, I hope this inspires somebody, of course, because, you know, with all those traditional drawings, you just came from a box, you just came from a cylinder, you came from really bad drawings, to be honest, and then you moved on to things like these where they actually look pretty appealing, pretty decent, and they're definitely not like they're definitely not perfect, but I hope this at least shows you that there is progress, there is like forward progress that you can see just from all these notes, from all these like attempts, and I hope that inspires you to pick up drawing or keep going drawing if, you know, you're probably doubting yourself. Like, you can definitely see from this, like, this is the first attempt, you get a bunch of notes, but then you try again the second time, and then you try again the third time, and it just keeps getting better. And so, you know, I still get a bunch of notes for myself. Like, I believe these are from a Violet Evergarden model sheet. This is the main character, and I really like the anime, so I was just like, you know what, I'll just draw her, the main old character. So really nice, like creating a scene in as few lines as possible, and just trying to figure out the form of all these little guys. Pretty dope stuff. And of course, we got some animations, of course, you know. I believe this is just a rough of like just trying to figure out like how someone would pull out a sword as they're running, right? Still on the idea of like trying to get in the anime industry and just trying to draw a model, and like just draw something interesting, you know? Trying to create a scene out of some stuff. So I believe, along with the anime industry's requirement of sticking characters or keeping characters on model, like, you know, you gotta make stuff interesting. Gotta make cool stuff. And I believe this is just like a cleaned up version. Like, that first part was kind of cleaned up and had like some final lines. So yeah, I don't believe I finished this, unfortunately, but you can see the progression of like just like damn, bro, you went from drawing boxes to just drawing this. Like, damn, bro, how could 2017 Andy ever imagine him drawing something like this? But he did, and he just put in the work, put in the elbow grease, and got through it. So that's the dailies, and I have a bunch of stuff to put up, but this is definitely just showcasing where I came from. I hope all that sketchbook stuff really convinced anybody, or really shown my origin story, kind of where I started. It started with that like desire to be in anime, just because I watched anime and then I loved it, and I was like, yeah, let's just work for it. Went to college, didn't find any college courses, just committed to 3D and CG animation, got really good at rigging and programming, so good that I graduated college and got a job in a VFX studio, and that's where I am now. And in my free time, like even during college, I found little pockets where I could just draw, and then near the end of college I just committed really hard to getting good at drawing, and even now I'm still committed to getting really good at drawing. I still have a bunch of stuff to learn. Like, I really want to learn like background painting, and I really want to get good at effects animation, and so there's still a ton of stuff to learn. And you can just see from my drawings now that like I still have got a long way to go, and so it ain't gonna stop. I ain't gonna stop grinding. But that's my drawing origin story, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.